All right, so with Ben Arbuckle being hired at the University of Oklahoma as the next offensive coordinator, Oklahoma fans, they're wondering if he's going to bring his quarterback from Washington State. And Oklahoma fans, it might not be what you expect. Obviously, John Mateer's not even in the portal yet. So a lot of this is hypothetical thinking. What could Oklahoma do? But that's what we're here to talk about today. And that's where I want you all to join me. So jump in the comments below, give me your thoughts, and we're going to make it easy for you. Do you want John Mateer or Jackson Arnold as your quarterback? Now, I would say a lot of you guys are going to say you want John Mateer as your quarterback going into the next season. By the end of this video, I'm hoping that I can change your mind into making you believe Jackson Arnold can still be the starting quarterback at Oklahoma and can still do this thing. Because what a lot of Oklahoma fans and myself have been learning is, yes, Ben Arbuckle is going to be doing a lot of air raid. It is a base air raid offense, but there is a little bit of pro style mixed in with the air raid. And Gabe over at the Oklahoma Breakdown did an in the weeds video around Ben Arbuckle's offense, and it was a really great video. If you guys have not had a chance to go look at it, you really should. He goes in there and talks about how he runs the jumbo. He talks about different things that, Ben Arbuckle runs in his offense with counters and tight ends and all this thing. So highly encourage you to go read about that. But again, I think the talk is centered around quarterback, right? You saw what Ben Arbuckle did at Washington State with Cam Ward, and so many people are now seeing what he did with John Mateer. But, Gabe pointed out something that I don't think a lot of people have pointed out so far, which is Ben Arbuckle uses his best players. He centers the offense around his best players, which last year, one of those was John Mateer, which is why you've seen John Mateer throw for 3,100 yards last season. And I believe he also rushed for like 6 or something like that. He rushed for, what was it? 800 yards last season, 826 yards. So John Mateer did it all. But when you look at Jackson Arnold and John Mateer and in the way they play, it's actually a very similar play style. And you would argue Jackson Arnold is the more talented quarterback compared to Mateer. Jackson Arnold just needs to put it together. And this season, Jackson Arnold had so much going against him, right? You had all the wide receivers hurt. You had no continuity in the offensive line. Guys consistently getting hurt there. It just destroyed Jackson's confidence. Like we heard that the defense, the way that they played in fall camp, it destroyed Jackson Arnold. It crippled him. And so not having a quarterback's coach, because let's be honest, your offensive coordinator usually is your quarterback's coach. And if they're not, they usually hire one paired alongside them. Seth Luttrell was not doing a good job. Right? Seth Luttrell was not helping grow and develop Jackson Arnold into the quarterback that we all thought he could be, which was the next best quarterback at Oklahoma. So when you look at the difference between John Mateer and Jackson Arnold this year, obviously a lot of people are going to point to the stats. But what I want to point to you is who Washington State played this year. They played teams like Portland State, San Jose State, Hawaii, New Mexico. But did you guys also know they played teams like Oregon State, Boise State, Washington, Texas Tech? Did you know that Washington lost 4 games this season? They lost to Boise State, New Mexico, Oregon State, and then they lost at the end of the year to Wyoming. And did you also know that John Mateer was sacked over 31 times this season? 31 times. So although John Mateer put up stats, he put up stats against, let's be honest, teams on the defensive side of the ball that they're not going to make the quarterback think too much. And then you look at how many times he was sacked against defenses that really aren't that great. You put John Mateer in the SEC on this Oklahoma squad this year, does he do any better than Jackson Arnold? You guys know that Jackson Arnold this year was sacked 34 times. And let's be honest, if you really went through and you tracked how many times he was pressured in the pocket and things like that, how many sacks didn't count, Jackson Arnold was probably sacked upwards 40 times. So switch flop Mateer and Jackson Arnold this year and tell me then you aren't asking for Arnold to come be your quarterback in 2025. See, the thing is, Jackson Arnold has one of the best pure arms in college football. He has one of the best deep balls in college football. Jackson Arnold was a national Gatorade Player of the Year, a top, depending on where you looked at, 10 player in the country, one of the best quarterbacks in that class behind Arch Manning. You can't tell me Jackson Arnold is so broken that Ben Arbuckle can't fix him. Because although Jackson Arnold's going to have to learn Ben Arbuckle's offense if he stays, Ben Arbuckle is a former quarterback himself. He is a quarterback coach at heart. He is a offensive coordinator. He can simplify it for Jackson Arnold. He can help Jackson Arnold. And so what Oklahoma fans need to understand, Ben Arbuckle has had success with, so far, most of the quarterbacks that he's touched. Who's to say that he can't have that same success with a Jackson Arnold, a super uber talented quarterback? Who's to say that you even need to take a quarterback in the transfer portal this year? Which sounds crazy to say, but when you look at it, if you can have a true quarterback competition between Jackson Arnold and Michael Hawkins, you bring in Jet New in the 2025 class, even if Brandon Zerbrug stays or leaves, right? Because we don't know what's going to happen there yet. Everybody's got their own assumptions of what's going to happen, right? Then who's to say that Ben Arbuckle can't turn this current situation around? So when you think about what Lincoln Riley did with his quarterbacks, right? Think something similar for Ben Arbuckle. Think about how he's going to be able to simplify the offense down, be able to coach his quarterbacks, but not have to basically pawn the coaching the quarterbacks off to somebody else and then kind of have that person guess at the playbook and what the offensive coordinator is thinking. Offensive coordinator is the quarterback's coach, and he gets to have that one-on-one time with Jackson Arnold. He can help explain it a little differently, make things a little simpler, make it a little easier for him. And if you have an offensive line next year that can block, which Oklahoma will, then potentially next season, Jackson Arnold is the one throwing for 31 to 3,500 yards next year. Jackson Arnold is the one that's got 30-plus touchdowns through the air. And I definitely think you see Jackson Arnold utilized in the same way that he was used this year, where he's still going to have designed run plays, and he's going to have those 1 to 2 reads, then run. I think that's still going to be a design thing for Jackson Arnold. His legs are a threat. Same thing for John Mateer. So I want to hear from y'all. Join the discussion. Jump in the comments below. Who do you think Oklahoma's next quarterback will be? Obviously, John Mateer is not in the portal yet, but if he was to be in the portal, do you think the Sooners would actually land John Mateer, or do you think they would stick with Jackson Arnold?